welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast presented by Cisco. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Brianna McDonald, and joining me today is 49ers team reporter Lindsay Polares. The team takes off to Miami today to face the Dolphins for a Week 16 matchup this Sunday. Lindsay, you'll be joining along for the cross-country trip. First things first, what are the biggest things to look out for in this late season contest?
Yeah, I think in these last 3 weeks of the season, the big sentiment from the team is that they want to finish strong. So they want to repeat the performances that did bring them success in 2024. You go back to that Chicago Bears game in week 14 that the 49ers played one of their best games, complimentary football, all three phases contributing. You go to week 15 where the defense was really highlighted. They were able to keep a really high-powered Rams offense out of the end zone entirely, held them to 89 total yards of offense in that first half. So it's about replicating the good parts of several performances they had this season. You heard quarterback Brock Purdy say that they just want to put on a show for the fans, that 49ers football that everyone is used to seeing. It's important to create that momentum headed into the offseason, and they're going to have the opportunity to do that against a Miami Dolphins team that has had its own struggles this year. They're also got a matching 6-8 record heading into Sunday.
Yeah, speaking of things to look out for in this contest, perhaps Dre Greenlaw is one of them. He made a big return to action in week 15 after missing most of the season due to an Achilles injury. In our last episode, we talked about how he looked in his first game back, how his presence really impacts the defense. But this week, Greenlaw mentioned the emotional aspect of returning to play with his teammate, Fred Warner. How do you think that bond between the two linebackers translates to their play on the field and could potentially look this Sunday?
I think it's what makes them such a formidable linebacker duo. They know each other so well. They are friends both on and off the field. And I do think their style, their physicality, and ability to play off the ball, they really are do it all linebackers and they work so well in tandem. I think, especially for Dre Greenlaw, something he's touched on both after his 2024 season debut on Thursday Night Football and then later this week is that really he's not taking this time for granted. He is enjoying his ability to be able to be back on the field. He left that week 15 matchup with some knee soreness. It checked out, everything's okay, but there is just like a natural reintegration into the game after not playing for 305 days. Obviously, he was working on his rehab, but you can't really replicate that live game action. He's just taking in the games he's able to squeeze in 2024. And he really just wants to go out there, play with his brothers, and play to the best of his abilities. And again, create that off-season momentum for himself because, he did miss out on a lot of football this season.
Yeah, following the end of that Thursday night football game, head coach Kyle Shanahan confirmed that Greenlaw did experience some soreness and fatigue, which was what ultimately kept him out of the second half against LA. But it seems like Greenlaw is eager to take advantage of the final stretch of the season, and we'll keep our eye out for what that linebacker has planned out for this Sunday. But now let's take a look at the offense. And the last time the 49ers faced the Dolphins, it was the young Brock Purdy that stepped in after Jimmy Garoppolo's injury and showed some poise under pressure. That was his statement game in the NFL. And this week, he reflected on that game and he talked about that heavy blitzing he faced then. How do you think Brock Purdy has grown since that game in terms of handling defensive pressure?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2+ seasons of starter experience now. He's a totally different person. And he is able to handle a heavy blitz attack. He handled it very well in that very first outing against Miami. I think it's just so fun to look back because it was only 2 years ago that Brock Purdy really had his big NFL, not debut, but like you mentioned, statement game. The world got their first look at what Brock Purdy leading the 49ers offense would look like. And he really rose to the occasion. Jimmy Garoppolo suffered an injury that took him out for the rest of the 2022 season. And Brock Purdy was the next man up. He got his first start the week after Miami, and the rest is history. Now he is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's been to two NFC championship games, a Super Bowl, has faced some of the toughest defenses in the league and done so with poise and good decision making. And it's just really awesome to look back and see the growth, because it's only year 3 for him, and just the upward trajectory continues.
Yeah, as you speak about the growth that Brock Purdy has gone throughout his NFL career, a lot has changed since that game in 2022 against the Dolphins when he first stepped in. I'm curious, what are Purdy's goals this week in week 16 as he leads his 49ers through a 2024 season?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what I touched on at the beginning of the podcast. It is about getting to that place where the offense can match that defensive success that the 49ers saw in week 15, because when both sides of the ball, offense and defense, are clicking and you get really good contributions from special teams, you really see the talent on this team highlighted. I know that there have been struggles throughout this season, but the talent is there. It's been really great to see so many rookie players, young role players step up into a lot bigger positions this year. Obviously, because the 49ers were hit with a ton of injuries. But it's great to see that that new talent can just fit right in, and they can produce really big numbers on offense. They can put up 30 plus points on offense. A rookie running back can have 2 touchdowns in his first NFL start. Talking about Isaac Guerrero there, who was playing against both the Bears and the Rams, because Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason suffered or landed on the injured reserve list. So I think they just want to get back to playing the football that they know they can play. And they have 3 more opportunities to do that this season. So they really want to take advantage of that. And Brock Purdy was pretty vocal about that.
All right, let's dial into this Sunday's game. What's the injury report looking like for this Sunday, and how has practice panned out for the team?
Yeah, so the injury report has kind of been the case this season. It's not a short one, right? I think a couple players to highlight is Nick Bosa was able to start the week as a limited participant, but that hip and oblique injury continues to linger. He did not practice on Thursday. Malik Collins is just dealing with an illness, but he's been, a starter on that interior defensive line for the 49ers, has not been able to practice Wednesday or Thursday. We'll find out more about where he's at later today. Isaac Guerrero, turns out he actually came out of that week 15 matchup with a hamstring injury. He was also dealing with a foot sprain, has not been able to practice this week. Trent Williams, still no notable updates that we've heard, other than he hasn't been able to practice. Dre Greenlaw has been a limited participant all week. I imagine that he will continue on, but we'll see what his actual game status is later. Another guy to keep an eye on, especially given the fact that Trent Williams will likely not be playing, given that he hasn't practiced. And now this would be, I believe, his 5th straight game that he would miss. Jalen Moore has been his backup. He's dealing with a hip injury. Hasn't been able to be a full participant in practice this week. So I think depending on what he's able to do today, that might be something to definitely keep an eye out on.
All right, given the injury report, and it sounds like the key to success in this game is playing complementary football this Sunday, Lindsay, who are some players to watch in this matchup against the Dolphins?
I would keep an eye out for Patrick Taylor Jr. He is likely going to be making his very first NFL start. He's had 44 appearances, was previously with the Packers. We saw him score a touchdown late against the Chicago Bears. If Isaac Guerrero cannot go, it will be him getting the start. I think he definitely can handle the task, and the 49ers, can lean on him, especially as that running back room continues to kind of go through injury after injury. So that's definitely someone to look out for. Charvarius Ward is kind of just ramping up in this later part of the season, another person to watch. And then, I think right now is a great time to watch all of the rookies, especially right now. This is a great time to see what you have in those younger players, give them more opportunities. So I'm thinking Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing. This is the time to see what different lineups look like. So I think definitely keep an eye out for the different configurations of the lineup that you'll see on Sunday.
All right. Well, a lot to look out for this Sunday. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining me today. Faithful, don't forget to tune in to the Niners versus Dolphins game on CBS. It's at 1:25 p.m. Pacific time. Subscribe to First and 10 presented by Cisco for all of your 49ers updates and turn on the notifications for any breaking news. Thanks for tuning in.